Well, let's get into it. If you're just joining us, we are getting started now. So before I start, we are talking about some financial stuff today. So I do want to let you know that this is general information. Before making any financial or investment decisions, I recommend you consult a financial planner to take into account your personal financial situation. The information is not legal advice. So yeah, just sort of wanted to cover that. This is me. I'm Daniel O'Brien. I'm a real human being. Hopefully you saw me on the webcam before. And yeah, I want to start by just sharing a bit about myself, because there actually are quite a few people on here that don't know who I am. So I'm a real human being. I'm married to Jody. We have a son, Benson, who's about 20 months of age. And we're expecting our second baby like anytime, like literally anytime. It could have come yesterday, it might have come today. So I've got my phone on, so just in case something happens. So that's me. I'm passionate about egg farming and sustainability. I suppose that's why I'm here tonight. I'll let you know up front, I'm not selling anything here on this webinar tonight. There is an opportunity at the end if you want to join our members forum, which like a lot of our clients are on. It's just an online training university for egg farmers. It's an opportunity. It's just to sign up for a waiting list at the moment. So why am I here on a Tuesday night sharing this with you? Like, I am passionate about sustainable farming. It's interesting in the media just this week, well, it's been going on for a few years, so I sort of tried to stop following it. It's like, what is free range? So what they do, they let some politicians decide what free range is, I think, and they sort of come up with it. And a lot of farmers this week, like genuine pastured farmers, and fairly so, they've come out after, I think they've declared that 10,000 birds per hectare, that is what free range is. And a lot of pastured farmers, and probably there's a handful of them on the webinar tonight, have come out and said that's crazy. Like, here we are doing it right, having our hens on pasture, and someone else is saying free range is this. So I from time to time get caught up by journalists because they want me to sort of slam like what the regs are or whatever, and some days I think, yeah, I probably should, but other days I think, well, no, I'd rather be the solution. That there's a lot of organisations out there, and all they do is just slam things. There's some animal activist groups, and when I actually research, you think they've actually done nothing for animals. They just run a Facebook page and say, this is all these people that aren't good to animals, but you never see them buying hay and straw for drought-stricken farmers and sending it on a truck. So I don't want to be one of those people. I would rather be proactive in making a positive change, rather than just sitting here and go, let's just have a good old whinge about what's happening. But that's why I'm here. I believe we can change the face of farming without using a whole bunch of chemicals, and I believe farmers can have profitable and successful businesses so they can hand it on to their children, and ultimately to be sustainable. If you're not profitable, you're not sustainable. So if I can just help a few people to create a sustainable business and stay on their farm, I think that's awesome. So that's why I'm here. Thank you. I'm getting some encouraging words. Awesome. I'll keep moving. Otherwise, I could talk on my passion about that. So about me, about 15 years ago, this was me. I don't know how old I was. I don't know, 14, 15, 16 or something. Digging up a bit of mum and dad's paddock to grow some corn. I just wanted to sort of grow food and yeah, just get my hands dirty, get into stuff. So this is me. Along the way, mum and dad bought me some chooks, and this is good old Wally the rooster. He didn't lay many eggs, so that's not sustainable. if you have a farm full of roosters, unless you're trying to breed them or grow them. And I started Hastings Hatchery, and I was literally like, I don't think I was 16 years old yet, because I don't think I had my L plates. And I used to breed chickens, used to hatch them in these incubators and grow them up a bit and take them to the local farmers market and sell them. I was just selling chickens. I'd wait till they're old enough so I could make sure they're hens, and used to sell them at the farmers market. So that was me. That was how I started in chickens, with these 3 little foam incubators and hatching chickens. And I thought it was just great fun. It was just awesome. Put an egg in the incubator, 21 days later, 80% of them turned into baby chicks, and 50% of those would be hens, which you could sell. And I thought that was fun. It was good. That's them all going. In the afternoon, you can see the thermostat light on. So obviously, I grabbed Mum's digital camera and got a pic of that. These were the chicken coops I made. I think it looks like I've got some white leghorns in this particular coop. And there was one thing I learned early on, and if any of you have seen me present before, I'm all about have hens on grass and have them in a movable shed. And I still say to this day, I haven't seen a farm that is running free range with a stationary shed that they can keep the grass, like beautiful lush green grass, up to chickens without it being moving. The only time I have seen it, to correct myself, is if there's like 6 chickens, and you wouldn't call that a farm, you'd call that a backyard operation, because you could let those 6 chickens out and there's no way they're going to eat all the grass for the next sort of 25, 50 metres. But on larger scale, when you go over 100 birds, if you don't have them in a shed that's moving, or something like this, like a coop that's moving, I just don't see how you can keep the grass up to it. And if you keep the grass up to it, you're going to get good, healthy chickens. You get beautiful tasting eggs. So there's a picture of me selling the chooks at the farmers markets. And there's a picture of just the beautiful green grass, and I'd move them on. I think that there's a cage there. I probably had some rabbits or baby chickens or something in them. But just heaps of grass. Keep them moving. It's good for the grass. It's good for the chickens. It just works. Just works. Well, I got the opportunity to work on some other farms. This is probably when I was about 18 or 19 or such. And this was good. I suppose my dream of having my own free-range egg farm was sort of in the future, and to be able to work on one that at the time, one, there was not many of them, two, this particular farm was doing it right. They had like mobile sheds and beautiful green rolling hills, and used to move the chooks around. One thing with this though, they had a good system in terms of keeping the hens on grass and keeping the hens moving. But the actual shed was not a good system, because they were washing and cleaning a lot of eggs, because the shed itself, it didn't have like roll-away nesting boxes. The hens didn't have a gate that closed them out of the nesting boxes at night, so you'd have hens in there. They ran a straw and sawdust operation, so the straw and sawdust in the nesting box. Now what happens, if the eggs don't roll away, you get 15, like 12, 15 eggs in there, and then a chook hops in and it breaks just one of those eggs and looks down, they see the yolk, and they start eating the eggs, and they spread this yolk over all the others. Now yolk is, if you ever like spilt yolk on something and left it there for an hour, it's like glue, like it sets hard. And then there'd just be massive effort in cleaning them. So to combat that, you'd have to collect the eggs sort of 3 times a day. And the reason I'm telling you this story, because it really fits with where I'm going tonight, with the egg costings of how to be profitable. So what I learned from this is the good things you want to do out of this system is have a shed that's movable and keep them moving on grass. With your shed, make sure it's user-friendly. And I'll cover a bit more of that soon. Started my own egg farm. That was sort of my dream, to sort of start my very own. I thought It was going to be sort of years later, but through some opportunities and that, I think I was 24 at the time when I started Oxhill Organics. And to let you know, I didn't have a farm, so I approached a local organic dairy farmer, and I said, "Can I farm on your land? Like, can I lease some land off you and such?" And we ended up making a partnership. So we sort of had a partnership in the egg business, and a few years later, he's actually bought that out. So that the Eggett family at Warhope, they own Oxhill Organic Eggs now, so it's still going today. I'm not an active part of it, but we still go out there from time to time and see what's going on and doing things. And since then, helped start a number of egg farms. So, and when we're on that farm, this is what we developed, and this is often what we're known for, the chicken caravan. This was the very first one. I could stay on this slide for 20 minutes telling you everything we did wrong about it, but let's just say we've improved some things from day one. The latest ones look a bit more like this, with a chickencaravan.com sticker on the side, and this is what egg farmers all over Australia use. This is a chicken caravan that holds 450 hens. We've worked with a bunch of farms. So when we developed the chicken caravan, we sold one, and then two, and then three. So we sold a few chicken caravans around the place. And what I didn't realise, but I learnt so much from working with other farms, because we knew on our farm what worked and what didn't work. But then we had the opportunity to work with farms in Tasmania, Queensland, South Australia, Victoria, and all different climates. Some had high rainfall and some had almost no rainfall, and sort of everything in between. And some of these farms we work with just a little bit. We've just sort of helped them just with some equipment or just a little bit of branding or marketing, and others we've helped from sort of day one of when they've first got birds right through to sort of their marketing, their branding, and different things. And I'll share later in the webinar how we're sort of doing a lot of that coaching now through our membership forum. So it's just a more cost-effective way. So we've worked with a lot of farms, and it's just been quite rewarding just working with, I suppose, like-minded people that genuinely want to make a change for the better, for sustainable farming. So they have their own farm, and they're stepping out and just making a positive difference. And there's just so many just brilliant stories from people we've worked with all over that it's just making a positive change. So it's very rewarding, I'd have to say. So I'm going to get into the egg costings, and I'm going to share with you. I'm going to go live with the egg costing spreadsheet. Let's just see if I can do this here. I reckon I can. There we go. Can you just comment in the box that if you can see my screen there? Because I don't want to start talking and then 10 minutes in, I start getting comments like, we have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm going to go through and explain the egg costings and what they mean and such. If you said not clearly, you can see it. Yep, can see it. Okay, yep, righto. It might take a bit to load. I think there's a little bit of a delay. I'll see how it goes. I've tried to blow it up today, so the text is larger than normal. But we'll see how we go. So basically what we're looking at here, This is something we developed a few years ago, and we've been tweaking it over and over. And this is the actual costings of what we use when we work with a farm to see their profitability. So I want to sort of go through this. At the end, there is an opportunity for you to get a copy of it. Anyone that's sort of on the forum, gets a copy of it. So I'm just going to go through each box, and the way it works is you fill in these yellow boxes, and all the other details sort of add themselves up through the coding on Excel spreadsheets. So if you've ever used Excel spreadsheets, you can sort of build these out yourself. So the first one, so we're just going to cover inputs and outputs in this particular spreadsheet. So the first one is your feed. So this is your feed per tonne price. Now with these prices, it's going to be different for every farm. So please bear in mind that the figures I'm using, they're accurate for a farm. They might not be accurate for your farm, but the whole idea of this, especially if you get this spreadsheet before you start farming, is you can pretty well see how profitable you're going to be. So how it would work is with feed, before I start, I can just ring up a feed supplier. I'm after some commercial laying mix, how much is it a tonne, and work out the actual price delivered to your farm, because that's the real costing. So in there, I'm going to put $600 a tonne. The next one down is cartons. So this is what you're paying for cartons. They do vary a little bit. I've heard them as cheap as 22 cents a carton, so I think people have been paying up to 60 cents, but I think they must be buying one at a time. But I've just sort of put 30 cents there. The next one's labels for cartons. Most farms, this is irrelevant, because when you're buying bulk cartons, you'll get your label already on. But if you're printing labels, it is a square that I put in because some people, they find they're spending a lot on label printing. If you're printing your own labels with a brother label printer, and if you want to ask me questions about that, I can tell you a bit more about that. They'll be about 1 or 2 cents each. So they're quite cheap. But if you go into a local print shop, you could be paying up to 30 cents each per label. But hopefully that is zero. But I've put that column in there because it's relevant to some farms. Freight per box for 15 dozen. So I've worked with farms where in this box, they'll be paying $15 a box, almost $1 a dozen, because they're freighting their eggs a long way. For them, they just add it into the cost. So instead of them wholesaling their eggs for, say, $6.50 a dozen, they'll just make it $7.50 a dozen. So it balances itself out. There's quite a few farms that they'll deliver their own eggs, and they'll deliver it once a week when they're already going to town. So if you look at they're delivering between 20 and 40 boxes, say, the actual price per box, because they're already going to town, it's quite low. So for this example, I'm just going to say $2 a box. And when I say box, as you can see there, it's 15 dozen per box. Labour packing, a dozen per hour. So this is how many eggs that you pack in an hour. So they've come in from the chicken caravan and you're packing them into egg cartons. I always want to aim for, you want to do over 30 dozen an hour. You want to more likely do 40 dozen an hour. This largely comes down to how clean your eggs are. And if you're using a system like I was talking about before, where you're collecting eggs often throughout the day and you've got eggs that are sort of broken and yolk on them, this number could come down quite a bit, which will really affect your bottom line. Labour to care for birds, this is hours per day. So obviously this will depend on how many birds you've got. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump straight down to the number of birds here, and I'm going to say we've got 450 hens. So now I can go labour to care for birds. Now this is an average. So there'll be some days where you're moving the chicken caravan and the fences, and you're feeding them. So you might spend an hour and a half at that chicken caravan. There's other days, everything's full, the feed's full, the water's full, you're just collecting the eggs, and you're probably in and out in 10 minutes or less. But to make it as an average, I'm just going to say 1.5 hours a day. So that's down the paddock, caring for the birds. I think that's been quite conservative. And we've got some podcasts coming up, and I share some actual figures, some case studies of what farms are doing. And it's more like they probably average out at 30 minutes a day. Bird cost. So this is when you first buy your point of lay pullets, how much are you paying for them? It's a bit like the feed cost. There's no right or wrong answer. Every farm's going to be different. Most of it comes down to how far are you from your pullet supplier or hatchery. If you're next door, the freight component's going to be very low compared to if you're 6 or 7 hours away, where the delivery cost is going to stack up. But $13 a bird is normally a good price for a majority of farms. But we've got the benefit of being a spreadsheet. We can just change it. Consumables per week. I've put this in here because I've just seen so many spreadsheets or business plans, and they miss out a few columns like consumables or administration, or, as I've got here, other weekly costs. So consumables, this could be like sticky tape or pencils or texters, just stationary consumables, paper towel, liquid hand soap, those sorts of things. No, it's not normally a high number, but it's always worth putting in. So I'm just going to say $20 a week, like average, because you might go shopping once a month and spend $100 or whatever. But whatever it is, it is. Production. This is the percentage of eggs that your hens are laying. The good thing about how this spreadsheet has been developed, you can fill this out daily, weekly, monthly, annually. We work as an average at 80% production. I do have some numbers of farms that are getting above that, but I like to be conservative. Like when your hens first come in, it's not uncommon to have 95, 96% lay, and I've had farms which are more than that. When they're first coming to lay, they're getting like 98, 99% layers. Like almost every single chook is laying an egg a day. That's not going to last for like 6 or 8 weeks. They might peak at that for maybe a couple of weeks, and then it'll probably even out and come back to about 90%. Obviously, when your hens get older, they're going to lay less eggs. When the days get shorter, they'll lay less eggs. But as an average, I work on 80%. Number of birds we've got, I've already sort of put that in. We've got 450 birds. Price per dozen. So this is the amount you're selling your eggs for. So if you're wholesaling your eggs or retailing your eggs or whatever, what's the average cost that you sell your eggs for? I would say sell them for a minimum of $6 a dozen. I know customers are getting like $6.50 wholesale, and if they're selling them direct to a consumer at a farmer's market, they're getting a lot more. So I'm just going to say $6.20. Feed per day per bird. This doesn't change, but it's got a column there in case it does for you. So chooks eat 100 grams of food per hen per day. I've found this figure to be accurate on a whole different production systems, whether they be high rainfall, low rainfall, summer, winter. Like winter, it changes a little bit, but when I say change, it doesn't go to like 200 grams. It might go, instead of eating 100 grams, they're eating 105 grams. In most of our production methods, like having birds of having 900 or 1,000 birds, you won't really notice it. In some production systems, which I don't deal with, like with 100,000 birds, they'll know their figures, because if they miss out 1,000 kilos, like the hens go hungry. So they can measure this. But it's there, so if you can measure the feed, because you know how many bags or whatever put in, you can say, well, over a month, this is what they've averaged. Labour rate. This is what you pay yourself or your staff. If you've seen many farm business plans, often this is just left out. It's like, oh, well, yeah, we're not going to sort of pay anyone or whatever. And I like to put a realistic figure in there, $25 an hour. So you can actually, pay someone like a realistic wage, rather than go, oh, yeah, well, we should be able to get someone for $15 an hour. Want something sustainable. The administration per week. This is, administration, running costs. It could be bookkeeping. It could be following up invoices. Didn't really, like, I've got a labour rate here, but that labour rate is directly related to caring for the birds here and packing eggs. So the administration per week, I've just sort of put in there $40. So that could be 1 hour a week for a bookkeeper at $40 a week, or it could be 2 hours at $20 an hour following up invoices. Again, this is probably an average. You might do your figures and go, it's a lot lower than that, it's a lot higher than that. Other weekly costs. This could be things like you might have to pay some license fee at $200 a year. So you average this out over a week, or it could be some random thing that doesn't fit into other columns. So it's just other. And when it's weekly cost, it averages out. It might not be something you're forking out every single week, but to average out. I'm just going to put $20 in there. Capital equipment. So to get a system, if you're buying a chicken caravan system for 450 birds, you're also going to get some fences, some energizers, some feeders and whatever. You're looking at just over $30,000. It's about 30,500. So I'll put that in, 30,500. And this particular square here, number of years to pay off. Now you can play around with this, and we'll do that now. But let's just say a lot of accountants, they'll write it off over 5 years. But again, I'm not giving legal advice. I'm not an accountant, I'm not a lawyer. So based on this, and I've put in realistic figures here, and if I sat down with a farmer tomorrow and said, okay, let's fill all this in, none of these figures are unrealistic. So it breaks it down per dozen. So you can see here, the feed per dozen, 90 cents. Your cartons are 30 cents, obviously, because that's direct correlation from over here. Labels, 2 cents. Your freight per box, this is per 12 eggs, so it's freight per dozen, 13 cents. Labour, packing per dozen, 71 cents. Labour to care for the birds, $1.25. Consumables, 10 cents. Cost of birds, 54 cents. So that averages itself out sort of over sort of 52 weeks when you replace your birds, admin, capital equipment, and other weekly costs. So what we see here, and I'll show you some examples soon of what particular squares here will make the biggest difference for you. So your total cost here to produce those eggs is $4.79. $4.79. Your sales price is $6.20. Your margin is $1.41. So you're running at a 22% margin. Now, what we're looking at here, number of years to pay off. So we're looking at 5 years. So if you had the cash up front and you're doing it over 10 years, you're now looking at a 27% margin. But for the example, I want to wind it back. And if we're using these exact figures here, what's the shortest amount of time that we can pay off that capital equipment? So let's just see here, what will it look like after 3 years? So if we're trying to pay off all that in 3 years, we're still doing a 16% margin. Let's make it 2 years. Still got a 9% margin. See if we can do it in 1 year. We can't quite do it in 1 year. So if we go 1.5 years. So on this example here, we could pay off all that capital equipment in 1.5 years and would still run a margin of 1.6%, which would be a $21 a week net income. And obviously after that 1.5 years, that would be, I don't have a nil button, but let's just put 20 years in there just to even it off. You're then looking at running a business after you've paid that off at like a 29% margin. That should more be like infinity. So let's just say it. So there you go. It'll be looking like a 30% profit margin after you pay off your capital equipment. And what that looks like for 450 hens, it looks approximately about $20,000 a year of net income. Now remember here, we are we're paying someone. This is $25 an hour. So this is someone, you're paying wages to someone to do the caring of the birds for you. So let's just put this back to 5 years. And as some people say, well, I'm going to do all the work myself. What's that going to look like? Well, that's easy. You just make that labour rate 0, because whatever this weekly income in, you're going to take it home yourself. You're now looking at a 54% profit margin and $700 a week. And when I say net income, that's not wages. That would be what you take home if you're doing all the work. Net income, 36 grand. Now, for one caravan, it may not be something that would replace your income, but we've got people that have a caravan and they're working full time. They do it before and after work, and they're doing the work themselves. So that's probably what it looks like for them. You get 2 caravans, you double your figures. Let's just see that here. If we go to 900 birds, there we go. You're looking at sort of an income of $83,000 a year. That would be you doing the work yourself. So there are a few of the, hopefully this has covered quite a bit of with the egg costings spreadsheet. The other factor, and I'll show you an example a bit later in some other slides. So your main thing is your labour rate. Let's put that back to $25 an hour. And then it comes down to the price you sell your eggs for. So in this example, I've said $6.20, and you're receiving about $300 a week. Now, if that's selling to a retail store, so that retail store is buying off you, they're putting their markup on them, they're selling them for $7.50, $8 a dozen or more, $8.50, and that's what you're receiving. Now, if you're selling them at a farmer's market or directly on a roadside stall, which we've got a few of our clients doing, they're charging $7.50. Now just look at this. We're currently looking at $2.95. I'll just reset this. Now looking at $5.68 a week by just changing that figure there. And I'll show you an example of this in some other slides. So that's basically the egg costing spreadsheet. All your inputs and outputs, so you can see pretty fast of like what your actual profit margin is going to be and your total costs. And different things, like in this particular square, I've been quite conservative, say it'll average an hour and a half a day. That's probably more like 0.75, so 45 minutes a day. That jumps your profit margin quite a bit, just making that change. So if you can go look after the birds, and if you're down there for an hour and a half, sort of mucking around a bit, rather than go down there, get in and out in 45 minutes, makes a big difference, big difference. If we say we can do it in half an hour a day, it's currently at 44%, I reset that, you now got a 47% margin. So making small changes week by week, day by day, can make a massive impact to your annual net income. I'm going to jump back to the slides because I'm going to show you some examples where I've sort of broken this down. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. There we go. Yeah, so this is some screenshots I've taken from the spreadsheet, and I'll sort of reiterate the few squares which I was working on before. So you've got your labour rate here, $25 a dozen. You're taking home $312 weekly. By making that zero, so as I said, that example of you doing all the work yourself, just that alone, you're doubling your income. So because you're not sort of employing labour to come onto your farm. Now I want to show you both examples because I don't want to show you the latter one and go, oh look, you can earn $724 a week. To be sustainable, I believe it should be sustainable at a rate where you can employ people, because a lot of farmers, they don't go on holidays because they haven't built this in. But if you build this in, so you've got someone, and they might not be working for you 7 days a week, but what I would advise, even when you're small, have someone come in once a week, and it could be for 3 hours once a week, just so they know how to collect the eggs, how to pack the eggs, the basic things. Because when you come to want to go on holidays, you've got someone that can run the show. So if you build that into your costings from day one, you've got that money there. Again, so we've got that the labour rate back at $25. We're selling our eggs for $6 a dozen here. If we changed just that figure, like I said, so you're selling them at a roadside stall, now you're looking from $312, and all we've changed is the price we sell our eggs for to $7.50, so it's only increasing it by $1.50 a dozen. It doubles your income. Now, how it doubles the income, I often get asked is, how does that work? Well, your costs stay the same. Because you've added an extra $1.50 a dozen, your hen costs don't go up $1.50. Your egg cartons don't go up. Your feed costs don't go up. So it's adding money purely straight into the profit pool. So it hasn't added any more effort for you to grow those eggs. You put those two together. So if you're selling all the eggs direct to consumers, maybe at a roadside stall, you're doing all the work yourself. We've now got an example with 450 hens here at 80% lay production. Your income's over $1,000 a week. And we're helping farms at the moment do this, sell all their eggs directly to the consumers. They're doing the work themselves, and with a couple of caravans, you can see the sort of income that you can make there. I did touch on earlier in the webinar about our members forum. It is something, we've had a members website for a while. We've just rolled this into a forum so you can interact. And I've had a few people ask about it because I've been talking about it for a few weeks now. So I actually wanted to show you some screenshots, which I took just today, of what it actually looks like inside the forum. Now, I know there's people on the webinar tonight, you're already in there, so that's cool. But for those of you that aren't, this is what it looks like. So we've tried to make a platform that's really easy to navigate and sort of get around. And we've created a forum, because what we found before, we had training videos, but at the end of a training video, you couldn't just go, oh, that's interesting, and ask a question, or interact with another farmer that has like similar rainfall or climate to you. So this is what it looks like. We've got, in the training section, we've got marketing, general management, live recordings, the webinar replay, so webinars like this and others that go straight out to like just the members, and we've got some extra stuff which we're sort of uploading soon. This is inside the marketing. So I showed you that marketing thing. When you click on this, this is some of the training that's in there. Creating your egg carton label, that was always a popular one. Marketing your eggs to retail stores, selling your eggs to an agent, good or bad. Just that one alone has saved and made people quite a lot of money. Just that one training there. How to film using your iPhone, YouTube marketing, Facebook for your farm, and your farm website. And as people sort of comment and request other things, more and more training will be added to that. So here are some of the training videos. Most of the training is done in video format, so you can just watch along. We're soon going to have MP3 download, so if you just want to listen to the audio of it while you're in the car, you can just click and download it. We've got here getting rid of old hens, things to know when you're getting new hens. We've got a video on that. Feeding chickens. This training was literally done yesterday and uploaded, so a bit about how much food like a hen eats, and talking about different feeder options and that. Inside the members area is this spreadsheet that I've been going over. So you do get access to that and actual dedicated training of how to use that and how to work that spreadsheet. So what you've seen, that's available in there. Plus, you do get forum access to myself, my team, and other members. So this is really why we've developed this platform. So if you've got a question on something, and there's a question today from one of our members just asking about storage of eggs, like in cool rooms, or like how do you store them before sale? Now myself, my team, and other members can go and go, this is how we store our eggs, and this is what you have to do. So getting access to that information is just really valuable, rather than trying to go through Google and then guess, go, is this even the right information? One of the cool features, like I've just covered on there, is, like I just said, the ability to write a comment. So that's where under every video, this is actually an introduce yourself part, where you can sort of say a bit about yourself. You can just write in here to say, hey, this is my name, I've got a question on this, post reply, and it's up there.